Welcome, everybody, to the new, absolutely bestest episode of the Lunar Lounge podcast until next week, where we get to talk about Pride stuff, starring our lovely guests, NerdyBerdie, Lila, and the guy in the corner. I don't know.
Hello.
Hello.
Guy in the corner. Are you okay?
Hello, man on the left.
I'm okay, I guess. It's another day. It's another day of tFay picking on me, you know? You get through it when you can.
And before people check out the Patreon, there's actually a tier reward for find footage of tFay not picking on Noctis.
Exist? I feel like that's not even a real thing that exists.
You maybe,
But
if
it
you
might,
go check out
it
the
could be.
Patreon,
Oh, it
that
does.
starts tomorrow.
For the right tier price.
Ice, Noctis will no longer be bullied.
Oh, can we please get to that level? I would like that.
I mean, you say that, but it's what the people want, you know?
It's what you want. I think you
It's
just like
what
picking
I
on me.
want. I think that, you know, I talk to people and they love the arguments, all right? And you know what half of the arguments are if you actually go back and think about it? All right?
Anime.
It's literally one of us making fun of the other for some random reason, all right? Don't act like I don't get shafted because I liked my Disney World games. All right?
I have
what?
totally lost track of what we're even doing.
You lost me there with
I
that,
have
but-
no
All right,
idea
we're,
what's happening.
we're gonna jump back on topic here as Noctis gets us all distracted beyond our reason.
Yeah, Noctis did
'cause
that.
we are
Or
here
I-
to talk about Pride.
Yeah.
Very true. Last day of Pride Month.
It is.
Yeah.
Seems like the perfect day.
For some people, Pride is just year round.
True.
Nope. I stopped being proud of being bisexual July 30th, midnight.
Yeah,
I-
exactly at midnight is when I stopped being
Exactly
out.
at midnight.
I re-enter
Yeah.
my closet like a goblin.
For me, I go until July 13th. Just
Oh,
to
why
be
July
safe.
13th?
Oh, to be spicy, to spice
Just
it up
has
a
to be
little.
A little
spicy.
spice, yeah, you know.
Yeah, you know, as like someone not in the Pride community, I obviously am not obligated to care about you guys at all because I'm just straight, right?
Oh my
That's
God.
obviously how that works.
I mean, that's how it works after once it hit midnight. Like, all
Yeah,
of the
midnight,
characters
right? You know, we stop like, you know, promoting Pride and all that stuff. If you're a business, you stop, you know, pretending you like Pride exists at all. Like, take down all the merch. No more rainbows.
Yeah, all the rainbows go bye-bye. I mean, we don't exist other months, you know, it's fine.
we just go back into hiding. That's how that
Yeah.
works.
Yeah, we just go back.
Okay. Well, as we get our sort of distracted immediately, can we actually, like, NerdyBerdie and Lila, can you introduce yourselves, please, for anyone who doesn't know you?
Sure, I can go first. I never know how to what to say about myself. So hello, I'm NerdyBerdie, aka my name is Jules. I am a variety streamer on Twitch, and I usually just tell people who aren't familiar with like LGBTQIA stuff that I'm queer because it's much easier than explaining my sexuality over and over and over again. But I identify as demisexual, with panromantic, and yeah.
Oh, for the sake of the podcast, and you know, viewers, because anyone who listens to this podcast, you know, specifically for Pride reasons, can you actually be more specific and explain what that is? I found it after you said you don't want to explain it.
Well, okay. Well, coming on to a podcast, I knew that I would like actually have to explain, and I'm happy to do that. I came in with that knowledge, but I always just say queer usually because. You know, when I'm talking to like my grandma, it's really annoying when she has no memory just to like re-explain, you know. So so people who identify as demisexual, a lot of this demi is under the ace spectrum, and so it varies depending on, you know, how people fall along that line. But it's basically that you only feel sexual attraction to someone when you have a really strong emotional bond with them, if you feel it at all. Some people don't. And then being panromantic, it means that I can feel romantic attraction for absolutely anyone.
There you go.
Yay.
Fair enough. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, Lila. Technically, you've been on the podcast before. All shout outs to our first ever returning guest on the podcast. But for anyone who missed the previous episode, can you introduce yourself?
Woo, no pressure. Hello, I am Lila. If you don't know me, I'm a variety streamer on Twitch as well. I play all sorts of different games. And I also actually usually just say queer, but I am pansexual, which, as we all know, means that I am super into pans.
Yeah,
and
pancakes.
My bad.
Yeah, and pancakes. And anything pan related. No,
What about pans from other languages? So do you really like bread?
What? I really like bread. Is that what you said?
Yeah, well, you into pan.
I mean, I do like bread. Yeah.
You can cook other things in pans, tFay.
Yeah.
I
do
don't
love good
actually know
pans.
many people who cook bread in pans. It's like one of the weirder things to use a pan for.
No, okay, shout out for anyone apparently in the chat who understands what I'm getting at, where pan literally translates to bread in other languages.
It's the French word for bread, yes. Good job.
Wait, isn't that pronounced pawn though, or something? Like it's not.
Yeah,
He was feeling smart and clapping himself on the back. So that's what we do around here. We try and make him feel better.
I'm just gonna go to my corner. That's why my PNG is already in the corner.
There we go. Okay, yeah. Enjoy your corner. I would want Pan as the Greek goat satyr god.
Okay, so Lila's into Greek gods.
That's good.
Yeah. But anyway, that can, if you don't know what pansexual means, a lot of people sometimes identify as bisexual or pansexual or both. And everybody kind of has their own definition. But for me, it basically just means that I am attracted to people regardless of their parts. I just like people.
Fair enough. I like it. You like the vodka no matter what label they put on it. I like it.
No. That's the worst analogy ever. Some vodka is shit.
No.
Some vodka is shit, and it belongs to be shit. All right?
Yeah, but you don't know it's shit by the label. You know it's shit by trying it. You know? You pop open it, get a good old gulp of that, and you know if it's shit or not.
Yeah, big old gulp of that vodka.
Oh my!
You guys not drink vodka like that, or no?
Okay, well,
I mean, I do, but...
maybe we'll have to do an alcohol-specific episode for the Patreon #shameless plug at some point. Noctis.
That actually, I think that would work. We do have a lot of people in the chat that do enjoy stuff like whiskeys and beers. I do know that for a fact, so maybe I like it.
That's true.
So,
okay, go ahead.
well, just a disclaimer for anyone listening and already is thinking this. We are going to be talking about pride stuff and different sexualities, probably in one way, shape, or another. If you define a particular term differently than how we're using it, that is fine, but we're going to just go with what we agree on for the sake of our conversations. Just as a heads up for anyone listening, because I know a lot of people like to argue a lot over what the sexuality terms mean, which I find completely silly. I'm like, but you can call it whatever you want.
It doesn't matter.
That's another reason I don't like to label myself all that often, and I just go with queer because I feel like where the labels are made for basically straight people to understand your sexuality, right? For people who don't feel outside of the quote unquote norm. And I feel like labeling sometimes can actually be more hurtful. And because it's a spectrum, sexuality and gender and all of that is a spectrum, like no label is going to fully encompass it. So like there's going to be differences in terminology, and like you see that a lot with like the discourse over pan versus bi. But yeah.
That's one reason why I actually identify as queer a lot of the time as well, because it's just feels like a more all-encompassing term, I guess.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people who hate the term queer too, because when they were growing up, it was like an offensive term. So it's like one of those one of those things.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's
All
an entirely
a
different
thing.
conversation on words that people don't like because in the past they were used differently and mean this, that, and the other thing. Oy.
Yeah, that is yeah. Like
No, we're not going to get into it. All right, I know some of
us.
us are already thinking of the words that we want to use as examples. Let's not get into it. We want to be able to talk about pride this episode.
All right. Fair enough. Okay, so we'll start with Nerdy. I wanted to ask you, how did you get your start streaming? We'll skip Pride talk for a second. Let's just talk about streaming for a second. How did you get your start?
Okay, so I was really, really bored over the last year, you know, with the panorama and all, and I was having a horrible time in grad school, feeling very lonely. And I was like, you know what? I like playing games. I could use some friends. My brother's been talking about doing these things. Let's just try it out. Headlong, not thinking about anything. And then I just really liked it, and I met some amazing people, and it just kind of took off from there. And the ADHD hyperfixation definitely helped a lot with getting into it.
Yeah. That's kind of how I got into it too, actually.
Being super bored. I like it.
Yeah.
Just one. So, did you? How about you, Lila? I know you've explained before, but every time you come on the podcast, you have to tell us how you got your start streaming.
Every time I probably will say it differently because I also have an ADHD crunchy brain.
Okay.
Yeah, crunchy brain.
But believe it or
Yes.
not, Lila, I don't think people are going to be going into the comments saying, in this episode, she said she started streaming like this. And in this episode, she said it differently.
Lila's a liar.
That's a Lila.
They're gonna come for me. No.
We caught you.
Oh. No, well, I technically have been interested in streaming for a while because I love video games and I like interacting with people, and I tried it a couple times, like randomly, but I really got into it last year after, you know, as we mentioned, the pandemic started, and it's just been a really good way to find community and friends, and yeah. I don't know.
I mean, great.
Great origin story.
So I guess to extend beyond that, right? In a still like now part stream, part pride. How did you decide to when did you decide to incorporate pride into your stream brand, like as it were?
I did not. I don't know. I've been thinking about this, and I was like, I don't know. Am I queer enough for this episode? Oh my god. But to be honest with you, I don't actually do a whole lot of like pride specific things.
First of all, wait, hold on. I'm gonna interrupt you for a second, Lila.
Whoa.
Right, there's no queer enough, but that is kind of
I know.
the entire
Yeah,
point we're
that's a
trying
larger
to
conversation
emphasize,
because
right?
You're
It's like-
yeah,
We have a queer meter, and you're not setting it off enough. I'm
Lila,
sorry, we're gonna
I'm
definitely-
literally cisgender straight, right? Do you want to say like I'm about as not in the pride community as you can get? But all right, I'm not allowed to host the episode. I'm sorry, I'm not queer enough to be.
No, I feel like
Okay, we better all pack up and go home.
No, that's it. That's important to address, though, Lila.
No,
We should
I was
address
actually
that.
going to. I was going to, actually.
We also need you to address tFay comeback when you find men attractive, and then you can go on the podcast.
Get out of here. No. No, like actually I was going to address that because I was sitting here thinking like, you know, do I do enough? Am I queer enough and whatnot? But, you know, you guys are exactly right. Like it is a spectrum. There's no amount of queer that is, you know, too little, too much, etc. And I just kind of, it's just who I am. And when I play games, you know, like in Stardew, I'm going to romance the girls, the boys, whoever I want. And same goes for like any other game. I'm pretty sure that most of my chat just happens to not be straight in general because, I don't know, I'm not.
Do you talk about your sexuality on your stream? Like often, or?
I don't say that I talk about it like often or anything, but it I have pretty much used the LGBTQ tag since it was available, and I do have people that come in and ask questions, and I'm always happy to talk about it. And if it ever comes up, like, I don't know. I think my thing is that I mostly just kind of treat it as, this is who I am, and you just know. I don't know how to describe it.
No, I think that's a great way of putting it. You just know. How about you, NerdyBerdie? Do you ever talk about your sexuality on stream?
Oh my god, when am I not? I feel like well, so I should say that like the majority of my community is LGBTQIA plus. That is like I'm gonna say like 90% of my viewership. And the people that I've surrounded myself with, and part of that was me seeking it out, because I've only been out for like a year or so, so I was looking to incorporate that more in my life. I'm also from not from, but I'm living in a very homophobic region right now, so I was seeking out those like found communities that a lot of people in the LGBTQIA community do. And so so that's why I put it into my like about section, as well as why like I'm so open to talk about it. And uh I also feel like I play a lot of dating sims and things like that, and it's just me shrimping over people. So like it's kind of hard not to talk about it when you're like, oh my god, everyone's so beautiful.
Can I
So
confirm?
Hades
that's
is
a
the
mood.
first one that came to my mind. Oh my god. Do you guys have a favorite pride centered game, I guess we'll put it?
of course I do. Of course.
Wow. You blew out your
Okay.
So excited.
Everyone from NerdyBerdie's community right now, we're all thinking the same thing. We're all thinking the same thing.
What am I gonna say, tFay? What am I gonna say?
Well, you know what I'm gonna say. Here's a chair.
So there's this really great game on Steam called Our Life Forever and Always, and it features a very LGBTQIA plus friendly environment. You get to romance Cove Holden, who's the most wonderful human in the world. You can have any pronouns, any sexuality, any gender identity that you want, which is fantastic. You have 2 moms. It's free. Except for the DLC. The DLC is extra. So yeah, that's one of my favorites. And Life is Strange is pretty good too. But Our Life.
I need to play that one.
It's all right, guys. And if for whatever reason,
that's unfair. Not everybody in the chat or listening to this podcast is familiar with NerdyBerdie. All right, don't judge us.
I'm not judging.
tFay's just been part of it from the beginning.
It's just I was there for that's how I sort of like the first game that I really saw NerdyBerdie playing was this game, and it just started like everything between me and NerdyBerdie. But for anyone who does want the link, we'll post the link in the Discord later. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll drop a link in the description for you to check out this game. But if, it's super inclusive for Pride. Also, the parents are stupid hot.
And I
every
love
single
this game.
parent,
What the
every
heck?
single one of the parents is stupid hot. Like, it's amazing.
Like,
Just
my
gonna
God.
download this game. No big deal.
And
Like-
it's free. It's free. And they're coming out with a second one. And I'm pretty sure the main characters are 2 girls. So it's even
Nice.
better. And there's a lot of diversity in like the race and ethnicity of the characters too, which I like a lot.
So, question on the topic of favorite LGBT games. Have you played Arcade Spirits?
No, what's that?
It
What
is
is
a
Arcade
dating sim that is very queer, and it takes place where you are inheriting basically an arcade, and you can pick your pronouns and everything. The character, you can only adjust a little bit about it, but it's very like androgynous. They are very androgynous looking, so that you can kind of be who you want to be. And it has all sorts of different characters, different genders, different race, different sizes.
This game
the
I'll
voice
also put in
acting is
the
amazing.
link will also
Huh?
be on YouTube for anyone listening on YouTube who wants to check out this game. Just disclaimer for that. Continue. Sorry.
It's currently on sale on Steam, just so you
It
know.
is.
And
Currently,
they
it's $20
are
and
working
$8
on a
now.
second one.
Ooh.
They're working on a second one. If you like dating sims and you like especially queer dating sims, I definitely recommend that Arcade Spirits.
I will
Actually,
say this is the weirdest criteria ever, but for some people it is criteria. If you want a game to not be as anime looking, Arcade Spirits is less anime than Our Life Beginning in
normal dating
Always.
sim.
Just
Yeah.
throwing that out there for anyone who has the
But
like.
it's also
Oh,
not free. One is free, one is $8.
yes. Well, there's
right
also
now.
that. There's
I mean,
also
Our Life is
that.
free,
All
and
right.
and you can
This-
propose to your significant other in it, and it's the most romantic game I've ever played in my life. And
all right. We're not
this
competing
is now
over who
sponsored
can
by
get.
GB Patch, everyone.
We are not competing over who can provide the best Pride game. But if there's anyone
really
in the
hyped
live
it.
chat who also wants to suggest any Pride games, feel free to throw it out there. I'll throw all the links in the
I have a
description.
bunch. I have a huge list, tFay, if you want
Well,
me to just throw them out.
feel free to give me a huge list, or just quickly promote them in chat so Noctis can apparently look up all the links for some reason.
Okay, I'll throw them in chat.
Listen, some people I may have seen send me a link in the chat, so I took it upon myself to look these up. You're welcome. That's what you're supposed to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Noctis.
Well, you're welcome. No problem.
Look at these
I'm
lovely
happy.
games.
This is Noctis showing us how to be. I just
pretty
literally think
sure-
Noctis is like Maui from Moana now. It's like just telling people to say
yeah.
thank
You're
you.
welcome. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
I will say I've noticed that a lot of the LGBTQIA plus games are dating sims, and I'm kind of disappointed that I don't see it more like incorporated into games that are just like RPGs.
So here's a weird thing.
I think incorporating that is hard.
Yeah. So
I mean, Dragon Age does it.
Why?
Well,
Like
so does
Dragon
Mass
Age
Effect.
and
no.
Mass Effect
Dragon
have
Age
it.
doesn't. Dragon Age has dating sim elements. I don't think that's a fair
But
comparison.
it's not a dating sim. It's an
No,
RPG.
but
Yeah, and Life is
basically
Strange has it too, and that's a Telltale game.
Oh, okay, that's
So-
not a Telltale game.
Yeah.
Literally
Well, you
not
know what
by
I mean. It's like
Telltale.
story. It's a story-based game. That's what I
basically-
meant.
How do you create? Is it possible? And maybe I don't. Maybe you guys have better ideas than I do to create LGBTQIA plus game, or at least elements of it in that game, such that you could throw the tag in there without creating that tag through romance elements.
Yeah.
tFay,
How do you show a character is queer without showing who they're dating?
No, maybe they
Let
could
me
just.
ask you this, tFay. How do you show someone's cis and straight without showing that who they're dating?
No,
Isn't it just
like-
the same thing?
No, for example, you could have. All right, I'm gonna try to come up with examples, like in the top of my head right now. But to answer your point, NerdyBerdie, I don't look at a game and I look for a cis tag or a straight tag, or whatever. Your goal is to have LGBTQIA plus incorporated into games more outside of the dating sim genre. So, like, I sort of want to extend and like.
Or characters
Can we
who
have-
are non-binary. You can have more characters who use they them
Yeah,
pronouns, or
like-
she they.
Yeah, so maybe we have a Phoenix Wright sequel where the main character is non-binary. That like a game that literally does not have romance
that would
at all,
be great.
right? But
Yeah.
just they have non-binary, like, so I don't know if there's games like this again. I've thrown this idea out there, but like it's that's sort of what we wanted. Ideally we would like, at least in games, for LGBTQIA plus tags and the theme to be outside of just people wanting to fuck people in this way, whatever.
Yeah, it would be nice if, like, how you look at games, like you were just saying, how, you don't look for, like, a cis tag. It's kind of just one of those things that's kind of assumed that there's going to be a straight person in this game. It would be really nice to have more games where it's just like any other game that you might play, not necessarily a romance game, but you have characters that are queer in some way, like, or non-binary, or you know what I mean? Like, it would be nice for that to be a more natural thing in games.
Yeah.
No, I think Nerdy. I think she nailed it with the pronouns aspect of it, because other like showing romantic interest is for the easiest way, but for a game that features zero romance, like Halo. Let's go Halo. Aside from Master Chief's obvious infatuation with his computer, how like you could assume that Master Chief is asexual, honestly, because he never shows a romantic like interest in any female he comes across.
Well,
So-
aliens and war kind of take the mood out. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's your
I
best
mean,
example.
I don't know how he
played
swims.
Mass Effect because what do you mean?
I
Okay.
agree though with what Noctis is saying, because it's literally the easiest thing to just change the way someone's addressing someone in a game, right? So instead of Master Chief being like to his computer, like she answered this, he could just be like they did this, because it's a computer anyway. So maybe that's a bad example, but like you know what I mean? It's just so easy
So,
to change that language, and then it's also so easy to just change people's physical appearances to be just not stereotypical, and then that can even get into like more of like inclusion stuff.
Yeah.
So
Then
what
you get
I
the
saw
game
that was
design is
yes.
the-
So one great example that I think it was in Story Seasons, Pioneers of Olive Town, where you basically chose how you look, and then you chose your pronouns. They specify pronouns, like how they refer to you. So basically, like they don't just assume, cyberpunk, that just because you dress like you chose the more female look, as it were, that you're immediately just choosing the girl character. They kind of like, oh, you want to look like this, you want to have that girlish figure, pose like a girl, but like, you're still like the grandson of your of your dead grandfather. I forgot what the plot was the last 30 seconds, but I thought that was really good. Or other games that it's literally let you choose your pronoun right at the beginning of the game, and then that's just how your main character will be referred to throughout the game. Obviously, this is harder with voice acting, but still.
Yeah, I would
Simple
think the goal would be you don't just assume that a character is straight on it. Like I don't need
Yeah.
to see a person saying I'm gay, I'm gay, I'm gay, but rather I put in the new, let's say, Kingdom Hearts, and we have a new character, and you have no idea who they're going to be romantically interested in until, let's say, they come across a male character, or a female character, or a non-binary character, and that's when we start to see it develop. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
That would be a great end goal.
If you're in games that are just like creation games, like The Sims 4, like just having the elements to do more with that. Like Sims is bare minimum put effort into be LGBTQIA plus friendly.
Really?
Yeah, and they can do so much more.
It's honestly annoying sometimes to go through the hairstyles. Like for the women, it automatically sets you to the long hairstyles.
Yeah. And then you have to take it off masculine in order to get or feminine or whatever in order to get like different hairstyles.
That's surprising.
You think short hair on a girl is uncommon? Look at long hair on a guy. Show me a video game franchise that does long hair on a guy. It's super uncommon.
Oh, Wisher.
Yeah.
Stardew Valley.
And you would think for like a creation game though that like where the whole point is create your own world and like build things that they would just
Sims
have those options.
The Sims really should be doing better.
Yeah.
It would not be that hard.
Offer every haircut to every type of character.
Yeah, most games do that.
Let's not even get into the gender of it. Like they let you pretend your character is like a character, but like if you wanted to create someone who's trans, you can pick whether or not they can get pregnant or if they stand or sit while peeing, and that's it. That is how you make a trans character in The Sims. Which great that they have any options, but like what?
I feel like this is one of those scenarios where having no options is borderline better, at least in that. It's kind of like, all right, this is it's obviously up to interpretation, but when you give such minimal options, to me, it's like this is your interpretation of what being trans is.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't allow for like people who are non-binary though or whatever to like create themselves because you're still forced into a gender binary within the game. So even with those options.
It also makes it really hard, like I don't know, like I actually didn't mention this earlier because I don't know, I forgot. But I actually am gender fluid, and it makes it really hard for people to, figure out who they are when you're told constantly, this is what a woman is supposed to look like. This is what a man is supposed to look like. There's no in between.
I mean, man, if they could
Yeah.
put gender fluid in the game, that's kudos to the design team on that one. I couldn't even
Yeah.
begin to imagine how you designed that, like, well.
Maybe take away the gender
Loki
choice
would
at
be
all.
a good example of a gender fluid character that's like well done. If you're running any of those comic books.
No. Comic books and a video game are two different mediums, right? Like, you can write a story around one, but like, how do you design like a video game around it outside of just acknowledging that they are gender fluid,
Aren't
which is
video
fine?
games a type of story medium though? And a lot of like RPG games or like
I feel like that's a different conversation entirely. I don't know how tangent we want to be, because I could go off on that.
Yeah. All right.
It's like visual novels versus. It's like, oh, a visual novel. Why not just read a book? Oh, I'm like that pretentious guy.
Can we talk about? I
I
can
love
talk about
visual
comic
novels.
books. I'll talk about comic
Later,
books.
another episode.
That does remind me of something that's not video game related, but another way that is a good way, talking about like pronouns and stuff. I was watching a show on Netflix. I think it was something about like ghost hunters, and they were kids, and there was like this young kid, and they were like, my name is so and so, and my pronouns are they them, and I was just like floored that this was in a children's show, because how incredible is that?
Yeah, the problem is you have to like get the concept of like pronouns meaning a lot to people.
It's that hard.
Well, yeah, it is for old people. And
I would argue like there's a difference between acknowledging pronouns are a thing and like really understanding your own sexuality. Like, I've seen arguments made. It could go both ways depending on how you look at it. Unlike at what age could you really identify what your sexuality is? Like, could a 10-year-old really identify their sexuality when they haven't hit puberty yet? Is sort of like the argument people make.
I think it depends on the 10-year-old.
Well, yes, obviously it depends on the 10-year-old. That's why I said
I'm gonna bow out of this conversation. Go ahead and dig your hole.
I'm not digging the hole. I'm merely voicing an argument I've seen people make. I'm not saying go one way or another.
I think the problem with that argument and with that whole line of thought is that at that age, we're already socializing children into a heteronormative society with gender stereotypes. And so the children are already being exposed to that and being told who they're supposed to like and what they're supposed to feel. So yeah, a 10-year-old might not know who they're sexually attracted to, but they're being told who they should be attracted to. And you're not blind to that as a kid.
It's
so
good
representation is important. Yeah.
When I was a kid, I didn't see anything like that. I struggled so much, and I still do. So it's just really nice to see things like that.
Because I watched 10 Things I Hate About You, and I knew I was attracted to Heath Ledger in that movie, regardless of what anyone told me. Holy moly.
I think it's funny. I see these trends on TikTok all the time, right? Where it's like, what was your gay awakening or whatever? And it's like, yeah, as a kid, there were moments where I was like, oh my God, like, do I want to be that person? Or like, am I in love with this person? Like, what is happening?
Do I want to be with them or do I want to be them?
Be them. And like, without the representation of like queer icons or like people who in those kind of relationships, it's like, oh no, I'm not allowed to think that way. Like, obviously. So, that's why, like, even if they're like, well, you might not know when you're a kid, you kind of do. You know who you're like drawn to, and you're being told who you should be. So it's like, I still think it's an important discussion to have with children.
It definitely is.
We're in that weird like middle ground, where we're switching from like in the 1950s. Not only was it not that was the standard, it was encouraged, and it was almost forbidden. And it was forbidden in a lot of the country. And now we're switching from that to a society where you can be attracted to anyone, and you're not as locked into those gender norms as you used to be.
I want to caution.
Growing stage.
I do want to say though that a lot of this has to do with being a Western, like, colonized society, right? Like, the gender norms we have in place were like because of the way like at least America is like the way America was founded, because like other societies have always had gender fluidity, have always had some of these things, sometimes are still not allowed to be queer, so just like super dependent on where you live, right? So I just feel like that's important to add.
So speaking of like sort of identity, Kurt, let's bring this to a Twitch thing for a second, because at least as of the past few months, I don't know how many people have noticed that Twitch's take on Pride is like such a hot topic and stuff like that. Especially well, because see, the hot take was that they did have a take before, right? And then for anyone who doesn't know, I don't know the exact date, relatively recently, they added more identity tags. For anyone who doesn't know, because most people don't even look at stream titles, but next to a stream title, you also have tags, like, whether it's a first-person playthrough, whether backseating is allowed, yada yada. And so, there's also identity tags outside of just the generic LGBTQIA plus. And then there's so at first, it lasted a solid 5 minutes.
Like
it lasted
May
a solid
23rd,
5 minutes, I think, of people being happy before then they started a new hot take. Yo, Twitch, why do you not give us 50 bajillion slots for us to use all of our new tags? Because I want to use all of the tags. Which then started another hot take.
I think it's fair to want to use your tags to express yourself, to help find your community. Because if you look at your statistics, you can see like most people that find my stream that are through my tags are through the LGBTQ tag. And when you have the more, I guess, like I use the pansexual tag on mine now. Like when you're able to put that part of your identity out there, then you might find people who can relate even more to your specific identity, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so I don't think it's wrong to want space to show that.
No, I think Lila hit it on nail on the head with that. And I also feel like I actually find the lack of tags frustrating for multiple reasons, because like being demisexual and panromantic, panromantic isn't even a tag that exists. So like I can't even use that. But I guess I could do pansexual and demisexual, but like that doesn't feel quite right to me. And then that's 2 extra cogs on top of my other identity tags. Like I identify as neurodivergent, I have a visible disability, like all of these other things. We're multifaceted people, and we should be able to use those tags on stream. And the fact that you're limited to only 5 things about yourself or your stream, like it's like the stream tags are in there too. So if I'm doing a first playthrough, do I not put that in to put my neurodivergent tag, or like how are we doing this? So
yeah, you have to decide like what is the most important tag that I can use.
What part of me is most marketable? Which is so
literally
sticky.
Yeah, no, so I think I don't know what you think with the tags. I'm just looking at this from a pure, I guess, a viewer perspective. I feel like just the literal LGBTQIA plus tag is so useless in that it it doesn't even necessarily tell you if they're queer or anything like that, because like the other 1,000 hot takes on this, allies using the tag and stuff like that. I saw a video, I don't know how much counts as trending, but it was pretty hard being sent around on Twitter, where a woman had a rant saying, "Why do I have to prove if I'm gay to you? Do I have to bring my wife onto the camera and make out with her for you to believe me? I already put it as a tag. You shouldn't have to be asking me to confirm my sexuality."
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Wasn't that a great?
I love her.
I love her so much.
I love her so much. Their wedding photos.
Oh my god, that is such a wonderful couple.
I know.
Shameless plug for her, but I feel like in the case of the LGBT, like the basic one, that's the one I still use. Like even with these new identity tags, I still have chosen to use the LGBTQIA plus one, because it's like I said, like my sexuality having 2 facets to it. I feel like that's the one that encompasses me the best, with only having a 5 tag limit. And I feel so like it's kind of sucky.
It is. It really is.
Like a whole controversy right now.
And it is true too that like people will come into a streamer's stream if they have that tag and try and start crap. Like, prove to me that you're gay or that you fit into this, and it's you shouldn't have to worry about that.
I haven't had that so much as I've had the people come in and like troll about pronouns, which like,
Oh yeah,
that's so dumb.
And I feel like
it's so funny when they do that too.
it's
Like,
so
really?
mean.
Okay.
Because if you're someone on Twitch, right? You know, you're looking around, you're using the tags to try to find people, which is why a lot of people care about the tags. And let's say like I go to NerdyBerdie stream and I see, you know, I'm a new viewer and I see people trolling, you know, asking about sexuality and pronouns stuff. Like, it makes it really hard for me to want to speak up my 5 cents and like say I want to like have a legitimate conversation, because it just sounds like I'm one of everyone else trolling the crap out of the streamer.
Well,
Yeah,
I think
well-
there can be a difference between like
Yeah.
literally, like you can usually tell if somebody is genuinely like.
No, I know you
Curious or
can. I'm
wants
saying
to
that people are going to
learn.
be afraid to, because
Well,
I mean,
they see that.
you don't let trolls take over your chat.
Yeah, I would hope people wouldn't be afraid, because I feel like there is a difference, and I don't. I'm sure Lila does this too, but I always say like I'm fine answering questions. Like if you have a legitimate question,
Yeah.
like I'm happy to answer it. And I feel like that's just a basis for a lot of LGBTQIA plus streamers, because we want to be able to discuss important issues for our community. Obviously, you gotta find out that information first, but like the trolls have never, I don't think, ever ruined it for me. I don't know
Yeah.
about you,
same.
Lila?
No, because I mean, honestly, I think that also a lot of us who use those tags have been trolled before, and trolls are not very original. So it's very easy to not let them kind of take over and get to you, I
Yeah.
guess.
You hear all the trolls listening are getting pissed.
Haha,
They're
trolls.
like, oh, I gotta
Yeah,
take
let
notes
them
on
be.
how to be better trolls. Oh my god.
Who cares? Who cares? They can be pissed.
Honestly, yeah.
Pretty much.
Stay mad.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty
I-
much.
I-
So,
I-
have you guys seen any? Oh,
No,
what's
go
up?
ahead, Noctis. Go ahead.
I was gonna ask. Have you guys seen any negative feedback to discussing your sexuality on stream?
Personally, I haven't, because I surround myself with people who are accepting, and I also have it like in my bio. I have my pronouns in my bio, and it's in my rules. So generally, like, people know what they're in for, and if they come in to troll, then they're going to be gone. And if they are there to be part of the community or learn or just relate, then it's pretty easy from
I
there.
will say, for any streamers out there, either having a bio with your pronouns and sexuality, if you want to include that, or at the very minimum, just a pronoun command, saves a lot of time.
Even if you do identify as like a cis straight person, using your pronouns and normalizing that is so important.
Yeah, that is incredibly important. And just normalizing it for your community as well.
Yep.
I also haven't really experienced any like hate or anything. Like Lila said, I've surrounded myself with like very accepting people. Most of my community is LGBTQIA plus. The only times I've ever had someone try to troll is involving pronouns, and I am such a dingus. I thought they were just asking questions, so it took me 5 ever to figure out that they were trolling. And then they were. It was actually it's kind of funny, because they started being like, "Oh, I like don't speak English that well, so like that's why I don't really understand." So I switched languages.
Oh my gosh.
Because like I knew some. I was like, "Oh, I got you, no worries." And so like. So they weren't very good at trolling, essentially.
Yeah.
And then they were gone, so it didn't matter.
Wow.
So like
Pretty, countered trolling with inclusivity. Oh, you don't speak English? Okay, well, let's switch gears.
I think
Literally-
you confused the troll, probably,
like
which
whatever-
is amazing.
People have told me that how I respond to trolls is why my stream doesn't really have trolls, because I'm just like, I just take them like so literally. I'm just like straight up responding to them, and stuff like that.
yeah,
just-
it's like trolls
Yeah.
want attention, right? And they want to like aggravate you or whatever. I don't really know what trolls want. They want to spread hate, whatever they want. I don't really get it. But like if you're like me and you just don't notice, sometimes that works in your favor. I don't know. And none of the community was really that upset about it. So because they weren't being mean or anything. but I also, it's always in the back of my mind, and I don't know if this is in either of yours, Noctis or Lila, that someone might hate raid me at some point. Like as I grow as a streamer, I might get hate raided. Like someone might just come across me one day and decide. And also because I'm feminine, like presenting, like I might get it because of that identity. Like it's always in my head that this might happen. So
nope,
It
never
happens to me
dealt with that.
I once had like I'm on a stream team that we don't really do a whole lot as a stream team, but you can set it so that your stream team automatically is hosted. And there was one time where there was like, you know, a person who looked like your typical white cis dude, and I was like freaking out because I had a bunch of views from him, and I was like, was he trolling me? Because you do kind of think about that when you see stuff like that happen to other people, because it is a thing. People will legitimately either hate raid into you, or they send people to your stream, or they'll just watch your stream and make fun of you. And
Yeah,
it's
no,
really
the people that come into my chat and hate me do it because I'm an asshole, not because of my sexuality.
That I can confirm.
That's valid.
Very true. Listen, we've all dismissed a partner as a boss, right? We've all done that, or no, just me? All right, cool.
Wait, what?
What?
Yeah, I had a guy come into my chat, had the purple
A
check mark.
partner. Okay.
He was a partner, and I thought he was a bot.
Yes, I remember
Oh,
that.
no.
That was great.
And I just kind of brushed him off. And that's why my channel has not grown at all in a month and a half. Because
I legitimately. All right, we're talking about pride, Noctis. When you said you dismissed your partner as a boss, I was like, what
so
did you
I
do
thought
to
you
Vixen?
meant like an
I was
actual partner, like like
you
your
thought-
romantic partner.
Anyone
No,
else
no.
think the person they're with is a bot? I was like-
Speaking of that, though, the word partner, that's another good way to normalize, like calling your significant other your partner instead of like my girlfriend or boyfriend, wife, husband, or whatever. That kind of normalizes the whole, this is your partner, and it doesn't matter what their gender identity is.
That's true. Like, have you guys ever seen Paranorman? I'm out of curiosity.
A long time ago, I think.
One of
Seen
my
the
favorite.
trailer.
You should. One of my favorite, and spoiler alerts for anyone that hasn't watched Paranorman yet, which came out like 15 years ago. We see a jock character all through the movie, and there's this cute blonde that's obviously kind of into him. And at the end of the movie, he says, "Oh, hey, yeah, my boyfriend will like that." Rewriting the entire movie him as a gay male, and apparently that was too much, and people kind of freaked out over it a little
Oh my
bit.
god.
Yeah.
Why? Why do people freak
don't
out
know.
over who people love? I just will never understand it.
Me neither. I don't understand. I mean, I also don't understand how people are straight because I'm not. So.
Yeah. Oh no. The
I
amount
was
of
gonna say,
mental
the-
energy it takes for me to understand that.
It is a lot easier to understand it. Not saying that I understand it. If you were either older and grew up through a lot longer than we've all been alive in a world where, being comfortable with this thing is more norm. And or you could just be part of a religious, your family's religion, personal religious beliefs, whatever, could just not be okay with that. And I'm not going to go into there are religions out there, not going to go too hard into it, that do not approve of non-straight relationships. Try to find the best wording for that.
You're good. So, segue. This is why streaming can matter, because I think a big part of why we're kind of shifting towards a more inclusive society is because look at the cartoons that I won't say I grew up with, but that kids today now get to grow up with shows like Adventure Time, Legend of Korra, She-Ra. We're talking like shows that feature.
Love Steven Universe.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, the
Okay,
feature.
only one of those I've
non-binary
seen
character.
is Korra, but I will say Korra did a great job of naturally showing off that Korra wasn't just straight cis, which was very nice. It wasn't like, at least to me, it didn't feel forced or anything like that. Like there were clues throughout the series if you like pay attention. I have no commentary on the other shows, never watched them.
She
Yeah,
is written by 2 lesbians, so you know it's good.
yeah.
She-Ra
and
is
that's
so good. My daughter and I love to watch
You can say
it.
it's good. I'm not gonna disagree. That, but I still haven't watched it, so I can't comment. Well, that's a
I'm
different
about-
episode.
I'm about 4 episodes from the end of She-Ra, but I was watching it. Yeah, I was watching it the other day, and I realized they referred to a villain with the proper pronouns, and I just kind of love that idea. It's a villain, and they're still taking the time to say they, them, and that's amazing to me.
I love
it.
that. My
Villains-
favorite thing is that kind of
Villains
stuff.
deserve to be identified properly as well.
I'm gonna argue. I can also argue that why, like, I don't even understand the logic of they're villains, so I should mispronoun them. And even for those who didn't know, we were having this discussion earlier of it's literally an equal amount of syllables, hence effort, to use he, she, or them. So
Yep.
what logic is there in
No,
misgendering someone
no.
because they're a villain?
No, I'm not saying. My point is like the character is slightly male, like
Yeah.
presenting, and like it'd be easy to say he, him, blah blah blah. But they don't even think about that. In that society, apparently, this person can betray them, be evil, blah blah blah, but it still takes no effort for them to say they them. And I just think that's fascinating and kind of it made me laugh.
That's how
That's
it should be.
That's how it should be, and I think it's also great because it's normalizing for the future kids, right? That the thing you don't pick on about a person, even if they're evil, is their pronouns. You always respect that.
Yeah.
And so like that's huge for like anti-bullying stuff, right? And like just accepting like the presentation of people as they are. Because this kid show is normalizing it.
Yep. We love it.
And that's how one of my favorite comics growing up was Runaways. I don't know if you guys know.
Oh, I love that comic.
Oh my god! And like, there's a character in it named Zavin. They're a Skrull, which is typically an evil race, but blah blah blah, doesn't matter. But we see another character slowly start becoming attracted to them, even though they're not the same gender. And Zavin just says, "Oh, hey, by the way, I'm gender fluid and I can be a girl if I want to. There you go. Now we can be together." And I just like that was one of the first gender fluid characters that I remember like seeing in a comic book, and it was kind of mind blowing for me, to be honest.
I need to read
I
more
don't-
comics.
It's fantastic. It's a great comic.
I mean, you know, definitely up for whenever we get around to a comic episode, we could definitely throw out a segment on Pride, you know, inclusive comics and you know, cartoons. Future episodes, though. Stop ruining our future episodes, Noctis, with spoilers.
I tied it into this one. I did a segue. And
I
all
was
that.
even
You're
like last
welcome.
time someone mentioned Steven Universe, I'm like, that sounds like a great thing we could do for a podcast. You know, like cartoons that we used to watch, should watch. You know, I feel like talking about things like She-Ra would also be great for that episode. But Noctis
It's
just
not.
spoiling
That's
it.
a future episode. All
Yeah, it
right.
doesn't take away from this episode to mention it, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
Does it,
yeah,
Lila? But
I'm
can you
sure
let
from
me yell at
future
Noctis
ones.
in peace? All right.
No, my point was that if we want to help get people towards that more inclusive like society, we need to focus on making every aspect of media inclusive as possible. So if you're gonna have kids that don't care about cartoons but love to watch streamers and YouTubers and stuff like that, so let's get that in here. How many 9-year-olds click on a video and a gal explains that even though she looks like a she by normal media standards, she prefers to be called they them. Oh hey, now I just need to refer to them as a they. Like that, we need to get to that point where it's easier for kids to encounter media like that.
I thought you were about to say 9-year-olds click on this podcast. I'm like, God, I hope not.
No.
Yes, 9-year-olds, listen, all right?
No, but I think I agree with that, and I think that a lot of media does seem to be moving in the right direction, and I think having the conversations all the time is important. Like my daughter, like I tell her, like we talk about pronouns and sexuality and all of that, and she does not seem confused at all, because why would she be? It's not any different than a kid growing up being straight and seeing straight parents and all of that in the media. Like, just the normalization of it.
Another, I would love to see this, like how this relates to foreign languages. I don't know if you get like Spanish, French, a lot of these romantic languages.
I've done research on this,
Yeah.
Noctis, actually, because my family.
There's a reason
this
why
is
she's
actually
the NerdyBerdie.
I love it.
no. So my family, one of my family members is a English as a second language teacher, and they have a really hard time with the pronouns. And so it's a discussion I've had often, and a lot of the pushback I get is, well, the romantic languages, there's no way of being gender neutral because the entire language is
masculine and
feminine.
Yeah.
And so I've done some research on this, and there are a lot of movements out there to create gender neutral phrases and terminologies in those languages to create gender neutrality. That's why you'll hear a lot of like Latinx instead of Latino, Latina. Obviously not being Hispanic or a Latinx, I can't like speak too far into it, but just like from the research I've done, there are movements out there, and so, but it's different and it's hard, and it's a lot of it depends on culture.
Imagine it.
I'm just thinking about learning German and having to remember what was masculine and feminine.
Yeah, for anyone who happens to only speak English and is completely unaware, other language, English doesn't change. Like, pronouns are like independent in a sentence. At least for the most part, you typically won't say a word differently because of the gender of the person you're referring to. But in other languages, you do, which can get very complicated because if you saying, you know, certain like if you word things certain ways, you're basically gender identifying people, even if you're not trying to.
So English is the most inclusive language?
Oh my god!
Wow.
No,
definitely not. But
you could definitely say absolutely not.
It is fairly yeah, because like
no, I'm gonna say it's coincidentally inclusive. I do not think anyone designed English.
No, yeah,
to be respectful with the
language this is from, but they them I think comes from I want to say like a language in the Netherlands. German, I don't know, somewhere in the like in the other side of the ocean. That's not English. So there are like pronouns out there that are gender neutral in non-English speaking countries. I know only primarily the westernized countries, though I can't like speak to other Asian or otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that's where you especially start encountering resistance, I believe. When people ask for something outside of the he, she, they, him, her, them, when you start going for they, them, stuff like that, it starts getting it. I think that really starts wrinkling old people's brains. Anyone over the age of like 40, I would put it into that category. And I'm sure we now have a 45-year-old viewer.
I was gonna say, and all of the people over 40 are now gonna come for you.
And that we've had this conversation on stream before. You don't know what the ages of half of the community is. You know, yeah. Like people are like, I'm this age, I'm that age, I'm the youngest viewer. Like you don't know that. For all we know, Banana's 13.
Also, I don't think it's fair to like, I don't know. I think it's kind of a cop-out to say that, you know, because you're from an older generation, you can't understand.
I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying that it's going to be more common to see it in that generation because they didn't get to watch Steven Universe growing up. They had to watch Speed Racer and Johnny Quest and stuff like this where the boy saves the girl.
Well, no, I feel like as someone who like, no matter who I'm looking at, I try not to make assumptions, right, about that
Mhm.
person. So if someone told me they went by Faye pronouns, I wouldn't care. Like it's not confusing to me to understand how to respect someone. If you tell
Exactly.
me what your pronouns are, or however you identify, then okay, that's it. Plain as day, simple as
No,
that.
that's easy to say
Um,
for people who, are already incorporated them into their lives. If you're living
but
50 plus
No, but
years
I
and you
haven't
never,
always been this. I wasn't
yeah.
always this way, and it wasn't a learned thing after becoming LGBT, like coming out of the closet or like whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
You have
it
become gay. Good
I have reached my final form.
oh my gosh,
Even my final
It's
form.
insert
This isn't
DBZ
even my final
memes.
form.
I've
I
come
like
Um,
it. I like it.
but it's like I was like this when I was like 5 years old. Like it's not hard to understand how to be respectful, and I feel like there's a willful ignorance that goes
Yes.
into it with older people, where it's I'm uncomfortable with this, and I'm not
Oh.
willing to put the effort in to learn how to change my vocabulary because it's hard in my brain to think about this, and I don't want to because it's easier not to.
100%
I
agree.
I think that obviously even like for me, like we've talked about, like growing up, like we didn't have all these examples, and it was even different, for older people. But it's not an excuse to just decide to say, oh, sorry, it wasn't like this when I was a kid, so I just can't. You know what I mean? Like that is where I have trouble, is when, not that it's something like new to an older person and maybe a little bit harder for them to understand, but if they use that as an excuse to not even try.
Yes, that's not a fair excuse.
So there's a
I'm
difference.
just
Yeah. Well, my point, I don't know if this is your point, Noctis. If there's a difference between I'm not willing to try and it's fucking hard as shit.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you shouldn't use that as an excuse to not even bother.
And I feel like sometimes when people are like, oh, well, I might mess up and offend someone. I have never met someone where if you have messed up and then you change how you say it, like if you accidentally call someone she and they go by they, and then you go, oh, sorry, they're not going to
Yeah.
be mad at you for that. It's when you're like, that you know that they
Willfully
go by they and you go
not.
she. Like,
Yep.
that's just being rude and
Exactly.
willfully ignorant.
Because I forget that. Like, so for fun fact, I live here in Montana. I hardly come
Montana.
across someone.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, now,
I'm
all right,
hardly
now
come across
all
someone-
podcast listeners are now making plane plans to go
Oh,
by
no.
Noctis's
I mean,
house.
I don't live there anymore, so.
No.
I live in
What I was-
South Carolina, so
My point is, I don't come across many people in my IRL life that don't identify as either he or she. Like it's uncommon. So internet friends are different. And I love it. But when you have hundreds of internet friends, trying to remember everyone's pronouns gets to be a little challenging. I try and do my best, but every now and then I still slip up. And I would like to apologize. Can I just apologize right now? That's what I want.
Noctis,
That's fine, Noctis.
I mean, that's the
I
whole
feel
point,
like
though, is
this-
that you're trying.
Yeah, that you're
And
trying and
messing
you're
up
putting
is-
the effort in.
Like, forgetting or slipping up is just human.
And Noctis, some tips as a streamer that I use, because this is like streamer episode. Just call people by their names. Then you don't have to use pronouns. If you just use names in sentences, that's a great one. Or if you don't already have the pronoun link, which you've probably heard of and probably have already, you can put that in OBS and it shows up in your OBS if people use it, what their pronouns are. So that way you always have it in front of you. And those are two things I like.
Yeah, I like that one as well.
Yeah, no, like when I'm streaming and I'm talking to my chat, usually I call people by their name. It's more like when I'm on Discord, like chatting with other people, and then let's say you're trying to make plans and you're trying to refer to someone else. That's usually when I make them. That's usually when I make the slip up. Like, oh hey, they're gonna be there. Oh well, it's she. It's like, oh fuck, damn it.
Wait,
And then I can't help but kick myself in the ass.
I have yet to see someone correct a they into a she.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Listen.
I think it's just an example.
No, but I was actually gonna be. That was gonna actually be my
Today's my
point.
default to be inclusive.
If you're not use if and someone from the live chat saying this literally is giving my point. If you're not sure, you can always just use they, because nobody corrects a they. They correct a he or a she. They don't correct a they. So they is like the safe one. If you're not.
See, this is me tripping over my own example. I'm gonna go hide in my corner.
No, I get what you mean.
No,
though.
but it's literally there are people who are like that.
Yeah, and I'm sure maybe there are. I always use they as a default, and I've never experienced that. But if I did, I would just say, oh, sorry about that. I will work harder at like being better about that and fixing what I'm saying. Like, and then I don't think anyone would take it too personally if they know that you're working on it and you're not trying to be a jerkhead.
Yeah, I think generally that's how most people that I've come in contact with feel as well. As long as you're making an effort, it's not, it's not you're purposely disregarding their gender identity.
Also, viewers, don't be afraid to tell a streamer what your gender is, or your pronouns, I guess, to be more specific. What your pronouns is. I've had some people tell me in the live chat when they show up to my streams, or I've literally had, I think I've had this, how many times? 3 times? 4 times maybe? They literally send me DMs after stream telling me their pronouns. And, I'm grateful, that's useful. But it's like,
awesome.
You could just tell me in the live chat. I'm not gonna like freak out, if you tell me I'm saying the wrong pronoun.
But I understand like a reluctance to like out yourself and be like, could you not call me he, him? I prefer they, them. And you worry that the chat is gonna, does it make a difference? Shut up, blah blah blah. I can understand that like reluctance, that fear of that.
I think as a streamer, something I can do better now that I'm reflecting on us talking about this is when I get rated, I should definitely be introducing myself with my pronouns. And that's something that with my ADHD crunchy brain, I don't always do. And so I should definitely be remembering to do that, because that also creates a more inclusive environment where people, if they're coming in and don't know you,
really good.
You could also, another thing you can do is train your mods to use a pronoun command whenever there's a raid.
That's a good idea also.
That's true.
Yeah,
if you don't want to because at least for me, if you ask me to change my speech as it's memed about, I'm gonna like, no, I can't add pronouns to my speech. It's gonna sound so weird, right?
Because you have a prepared speech and you're not a oh my god, what do I
confirm tFay's a robot.
No, confirm tFay is over 40 years old and can't change his ways. Is it that hard? Talk about pronouns, you old man? Jeez, come on.
All right. It's
I like how we're talking about over 40 as being old.
Well, depending on what time zone it is, but whenever anyone has asked, I guess it doesn't. Stereotypically, it doesn't come up as often for guys as it does for girls, weirdly enough. But whenever people ask me about my pronouns, it doesn't even matter who, whether a mod or just some random person, will just literally just do exclamation point pronouns, and you see he, him, and then that's it. And it's not like you don't have to make it like out as people saying, hey, what is your sexuality, and then the streamer has to say it over and over again for raids and stuff like that. Especially when you have like 5 raids coming in. This isn't me, by the way. I just saw this happen earlier today on someone else.
Well, I think when you're a streamer in chat, it's a little different. Usually, your pronouns aren't going to come up as often. Like, when someone in raids, they're going to say, hey, tFay, blah, blah, blah. It's not going to be... I'm not going to talk to you about you in a third-person point of view. Let's say I was raiding you. That would be the only thing that I could see why it's never really come up. Because usually it's just like, go tell tFay that I don't like him and he picks on me too much, That's all I want my chat to do.
That's all you ask for.
That's all I ask for. Exactly.
I also have like the information in my about section. So if you go into my about, it like says she, her, and like what my sexuality is and everything. There.
No, I don't. I say call me
you
tFay.
should add it to your about, tFay.
Yep.
I'm not against it. I just literally never. I don't. Nobody reads abouts. All right, people read abouts like people read title streams.
I read every about because I'm looking for inclusivity in the streamers that I follow, and so I check their about sections.
I also want to make sure if they do use their brain. If they do use their pronouns in their bio, I want to make sure that I'm going to use those pronouns properly as well.
Yeah.
And I also do, like you said, I look for inclusivity. So it's a big thing for me is reading people's bios.
Yeah, I think I can almost agree with tFay here, where I don't worry about my pronouns, even if like you misgendered and said she. Like I just like I'm used to that. Like I have a higher pitched voice. Like I'm referred to as ma'am on the phone or when I go through drive-throughs. I've just kind of accepted it.
Oh yeah.
My pronouns don't mean much to me at this point. I'm curious if tFay feels the same way.
You're talking to someone whose OC is a girl who's had a who almost exclusively picks female avatars, who made an entire community think he was a girl because his Animal Crossing character was a girl. I don't care. I'm not saying people shouldn't care.
I feel like it.
I just literally we made an emote about it. It's called tFay is a guy, because most of us who knew me personally at the time, and Lila knows this, like we all knew I was a guy, but like we did an Animal Crossing tour where I was in voice, and so many people who knew me for so long were shocked that I was a guy. And we're like,
I remember that.
I feel like there's a certain level of privilege that goes into that, right? Though, because you do identify with your assigned like pronouns. Correct me if I'm wrong. So you don't have to care because it's not something you're fighting against the norm with.
Oh no, that is 100% correct. You were not wrong.
I'd say yes and no. Your point is valid, but I don't care because I'm apathetic about things. But you are
there
not
are
wrong.
some people who don't, who really don't mind.
Okay, check your privilege.
I was gonna say there are some people who genuinely don't mind what pronouns you call them, and that's valid. But there are other people who, like me, for example, I use she, they, and it can be really hard because I don't know, it doesn't always feel like it's valid to have that identity, if that makes sense. So
yes, totally.
it's hard to not care.
I'm not defending. I'm merely trying to, I guess, like state like what pronouns mean to people that identify with how they present. Like most people look at me, they see my beard, they know, they like, oh, that's definitely a he him. So it's very, I don't think about it. Like my gender identity is definitely not the same as my sexuality. I've never had a problem with it, and that's just I think a lot of guys, especially guys, are gonna be in the same boat, and that's why maybe there's like a lack of understanding when people try and like discuss how important their pronouns are to them, because to other people it doesn't mean as much, which I agree is silly, but that's the world we live in, and that's who you're trying to break through to. That's who you're trying to convince.
That's a general respect question for anything. Yeah. We could throw pride out the topic of discussion, metaphorical window. Just for all things in life, some people are going to care more about it than others. You can make an argument that some people look at pets like they're children, and some people look at pets like something to carry around with you.
Well, I think what Noctis is getting at is the systemic oppression that people face with like different identity groups, right? And like if you're not part of that identity group, then you're less likely to care or understand what the other identity group is going through. And I think it's important to be cognizant of that and work towards creating more inclusive environments when you don't identify or maybe have to care. Because it's easy not to, because it doesn't affect you.
I think that also goes in line with like putting your pronouns in your bio, just normalizing it all.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say, I honestly, when we're talking about trolls with before, I don't know how I forgot this. I don't know how many people either Noctis, I don't know, remember if you were there, anyone in the live chat. I had someone come in. And they literally were like, "Are you gay?" No, sorry.
Oh,
is
yeah,
you gay? That. It was like, "Is you gay?" Sorry. Is you gay? And I was like, I can't tell. This is my mind in like the span of 5 seconds. I'm like, I can't tell if this guy's asking if I'm gay, if I support gays, if like, what is this guy asking me? I don't want to call him out for not speaking English properly. And I was so unsure of how to respond. And so like I gave like a plethora of responses.
I
And
love that.
it's just people keep like mentioning it because it just aggravates. Because the person never responded afterwards. I'm like, I don't know if I responded well, if they were a troll and I shoved them off. I still don't know what they were going
I thought
for.
they did respond a couple more times and we ended
Did
up
they?
banning them.
No. I think that was a different person. I don't. Did we ban the "Is you gay" person? I know I've had other people come. No, I've had. I remember having a few message responses to someone who asked if I support gay. I remember seeing that one.
Gay.
Yeah, what I was saying, I'm like, are you asking if I support only the gays or like the entire LGBTQIA plus community?
Oh lordy.
No, I thought we banned the "Is you gay" guy, but
We might have. I don't
it was a while
remember.
ago.
Man, people who get banned they don't get to outside of the Sia incident. Nobody has had enough traction before they get banned enough that I remember why I banned them or who they are. Like it's just like
mostly the
oh,
trolls were just
it's
kind of in one ear out the other or whatever.
So I'm also kind of curious. Do you guys deal with more trolls? Because I hardly ever deal with trolls. I deal with bots every now and then,
I
but
mean,
trolls?
statistically, females on Twitch, whether they identify or not, female presenting streamers will always deal with more trolls than than male presenting streamers. That's just statistics. Sadly.
Yeah, because like you guys are talking about trolls. I'm like, the only trolls I deal with is when I'm playing a game that can be trolled, like let's say Getting Over It, where people come in and tell you to hit Control R just to dick with you. Stuff like that. That's what I deal with. But I don't deal with people trolling my appearance or my identity at all.
Yeah. That's definitely something I have minorly experienced. I think again this goes like smaller streamers, like you're not as impacted by some of these more like some of these issues. But I find it when I'm in
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for calling me.
No, I was calling myself a small streamer.
I'm gonna go hide in the corner.
However you put that on yourself is your issue. I was calling myself a small streamer, but okay.
Small is a
Something a little
relative term,
defensive.
NerdyBerdie, alright? If you're calling yourself a small streamer, then anyone who's a smaller streamer than you, which is a statistical proven fact, you're calling a small streamer.
Oh, whatever. Okay, so but point being that I have had people come in and like comment on my appearance and like try to flirt with me or had like a couple of the pronoun trolls, whatever. But I find that it really happens primarily when I'm doing like just chattings or more like casual type, like not when I'm game playing, because I don't game play a lot of like MMOs or anything like that, or shooters. I have gone out of my way to avoid those in my lifetime for the very reason because women get trolled.
Oh, don't get me started on Valorant. Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah.
I have no desire to go to that side of Twitch.
Really? My favorite that I've seen was
myself.
a gal that played War, whatever the new Call of Duty is. She put her phone number as her tag,
Oh, I saw that.
as her username, and people and guys called her just to tell her a bunch of nasty things. I'm like, oh my god, really?
Okay,
no
I
one
wanna
has better things to do.
I want to pity her, but at the same
Apparently
time,
not.
I also need to have an intervention on this woman and tell her, why are you putting your phone number available like that?
Actual phone number. It was like a Google phone number. So
Either
that's like
or.
a fake phone number.
Give me like, oh my gosh. That's just
Isn't there something to be
True.
said about like, it's the fact that it's usually straight white guys that see a phone number and they get killed by that number and they hear it's a girl and take the time to call her up and say nasty, nasty things. Like, really, guys?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Ah!
It's a question that we as queers ask ourselves a lot is, are the straights okay?
Yes, this is a common question in the community. Sometimes I'm on TikTok and I find
don't
out
think they
about
are.
straight TikTok, and I'm like, are they good? I think there's something happening over there.
Yeah, I don't think they are okay.
I don't think they are. Seems pretty
tFay, are
toxic.
you okay?
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Are you
Are
okay?
you okay?
This is gonna be the last episode of my entire streaming career. All right. Noctis has been hogging the corner, and I just can't take it.
tFay's finally retiring. The cards have said so.
Yep.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, I didn't really promote it because it wasn't near. But I went to NerdyBerdie's stream when she's doing tarot cards, and I asked her, should I retire? And I was trying to get NerdyBerdie to say I should retire on stream because that would have been great content. But either through her convenient reading skills or how the cards say, I can't prove she read the cards correctly. I know how to read cards, but no, it was based like TLDR. I'm stuck streaming.
Yeah, that's how it works.
It is a prison of your own making, tFay. I'm just saying.
The cards troll you. You do not troll the cards.
I mean, it would have made great content if NerdyBerdie pulled 10 of swords. It's like, oh my gosh, you're gonna be
everything fine. Are you good?
You're like, maybe you shouldn't be streaming.
Maybe it's time to give up your life passions.
I did actually have someone tell me, real talk. I did have somebody tell me recently that I'm super stressed recently. I should stop streaming, and I wasn't really sure how to respond to that one because, first of all, if you tell someone to stop doing a job because they're stressed, there's an entirely different conversation to be had. But also, I'm looking at my past month, and I'm like, that's fair. That tracks.
No, you seem stressed, and I'm just worried about you. All right. I thought you should take some time off.
Great. This last month was not great stress-wise with how much shit was happening.
Yeah, no, but I don't July is known for being an easy month. There's no national holidays or anything big coming up. It should be easy.
Wow! Way to call out Lila's return to streaming, and the second part of her subathon is nothing big. All right, I see how it is. I see how it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I came out of my corner. All right.
Don't you want me to hit my goals? Don't you want me to be successful, Noctis?
I feel like that's a very interesting conversation. I don't know for this podcast or another podcast. How do you define being successful? Is hitting your goals successful as a streamer? Because I've seen so many Twitter posts about that. They show off their view count, their stats. And it's like, oh, average 0, no new followers or subs over a week. I'm a failure as a streamer. I can't succeed. What do I do? Yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, I usually just stay away from those like the plague. And I'm just like, all right, is having bad stats actually make you a failure as a streamer, first of all?
Well, to be fair, I was joking.
No, I know you were, but it's actually a pretty good streamer topic.
Yeah, it is.
Can I come out of my corner yet?
How do you define success versus failure? But that's a whole other topic, so.
Yeah, no, I feel like this is another podcast for you, tFay, where you can talk about the mental health surrounding streaming and
gosh, I don't know if I can trust myself to be in charge.
I don't know if
of
anybody's ready for that.
No, I think a lot of small time streamers look at their numbers and they freak out over every little blip. Let's say it goes up, let's say it goes down, and just you can't stress the numbers. I think we've said this on past podcasts, where you're gonna see a decrease in growth. No matter how fast you're growing, eventually you're gonna see it steady out for a second. And it could just be for a second. It could just be for a couple streams, and then you go right back to where you are. Sometimes it's for a couple weeks. That's just how Twitch works, and you can't stress those numbers. You need to find a different reason to stream other than trying to be successful at it. Otherwise, you're going to be disappointed.
That's a pretty great speech, Noctis. I mean, you don't hear it, but here's some applause for you.
Okay, cool. I did hear it in my corner. So we're good. But we've said it on past streams, haven't we?
I also feel like people underestimate how much effort goes into content creation, right? If you want to be successful on Twitch, there's a whole criteria of things you have to do. Like you have to be doing the TikToks like 3 times a day. You have to be making good like short edited YouTube videos. You have
Oh
to
my
be
gosh.
streaming all the time. You have to be like there are so many things that go into it and like promoting yourself, and it's a ton of work. And so if you're just doing it casually, getting stressed about the numbers, you're going to drive yourself insane. Because
And even if you get stressed, I saw someone saying this, like, you know, about like some streamers will like, you know, if you're a content creator, especially a live one, like a streamer, you can't let, even if you're bummed, you can't let that show, because that's not gonna help your situation. All right, if you're bummed about a low view count, you can't be bummed on stream about a low view count. All right, whether you fake it or tell yourself it's okay, whatever, you know, because that's like, you need to be able to recover. It's like in sports, you can't just give up just because you're down and scored. You know, insert your favorite sport here. Like, you can come back.
Yeah, I would also say, like, as well, like, because I don't do marketing, but I do vehicle graphics. I do a lot of things at my job, and maintaining a brand by itself is exhausting. That's why a lot of these companies, they don't worry about their branding. They outsource that. They go somewhere else to take care of that. Because when you're the sole person that is putting your name out there, that is maintaining how your image is, now you need to learn video editing so that you can put out TikToks. Like, that's exhausting to one person who now also has their personal life and streaming to worry about. Like, that's what every streamer pretty much faces when they try and make it successful as a streamer.
Yeah.
To think about numbers is like, how many people do I like having in a room? As an introvert, I can barely handle like 3 people in a room with me before I feel overwhelmed. The fact that I can have 7 people watching me stream, like, that's insane. Like, that might be a low number to some people, that might be a high number to some people, like, but that is like an insane number to me.
High number to me, low number to tFay.
Like,
tFay's a big time streamer.
tFay is a big time streamer.
I'm not a big
yeah.
But like,
He
even
does
like
most
one
of it.
person, having one person watching me do something, like that is an insane number. Like, what?
Yeah, and then something that isn't really brought up, but, you know, getting a Discord running. All right, I feel like there's an entire episode for that, because I see one of the most common things I see every streamer do, that's like universal, is they start a Discord and then they cry if it's not immediately popular. It's like, and I see that so many times, and I'm just like, I just want to give a rant to, like, to all of you about that.
I think it's valid to have your feelings and stuff, you know, about things, but you also have to remind yourself of why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm not saying don't feel bad, but it's more on your expectation of, do you understand what goes into getting a Discord community started? This isn't I made it and I put it on my Twitch page so people are going to suddenly show up. Like, this isn't, you know, it's the same logic to streaming. You don't just go live and everyone watches you.
No, that's cross-platform marketing. We're taking, you need to take a community that you have somewhere and try and build that community in a whole nother place. Like, I tell people just to have a Facebook right off the bat. Like, you can have, like, let's say people that build houses, do house accessories, shit like that. Yeah, it's cool to have an Instagram, but like when you try and manage both a Facebook and an Instagram, you're gonna find yourself becoming tired, or you're just like posting the same stuff to both websites. What's the point? You're not attracting people to another platform for a different reason. If you want to have people come talk to, like, if you want your Discord to be successful, make it popular, like make it worth it for a different reason than what your stream is what I would argue.
I think we've started a whole new podcast episode.
Yeah, understanding this is out of my wheelhouse.
I mean, to be fair, I'm surprised that the tangents that are happening right now are not me and Noctis yelling at each other.
I took my meds today, and tFay said he'd bully me less. So
well, I feel like it helps that you have 2 more people here who also suffer from tangential brains. So.
Yeah. We're just all over the place.
all
It's
the
normal.
time.
So speaking
Normal.
of, I have to be right back. Noctis, talk to them about pigeons.
Oh,
Pigeons.
Why
I love
pigeons?
pigeons.
I don't know much
I
about
am a
pigeons.
pigeon. I am literally a pigeon right now. Hear me squawk.
I also like doves. I really
Those
like
are
mourning doves.
Oh, I love mourning doves.
I think that pigeons and doves have some of the prettiest like shapes for birds.
I
I love birds, okay? I
No,
can
you're
talk
good.
about birds.
I didn't see my first pigeon until I moved to Montana. Where I grew up, robins, blue jays, cardinals were all a lot more common. Move up here, pigeons are everywhere, and then I got to see my first seagull as well, which I had lots of questions of, like why?
the trash
what?
of the sea.
Like
Yeah,
why?
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Why are you guys in Montana? But apparently,
Well,
that's
okay.
a common
Wait,
thing.
Noctis. I have a thought from
Okay.
earlier. So a really long time ago, welcome to ADHD. You
Woo.
said that you haven't met a lot of people who use like they them or she they or he they in person.
Yes.
And I had a thought about that you live in Montana where there are more cow than people, and it's kind of like conservative in a not accepting way. So that might be why you haven't met.
No, I know why. Also, by the way, we have more people than cows. You're thinking of Wyoming. We have
I'm
more
sorry, I'm
guns
sorry,
than
what-
people. That's
Oh,
seriously
my
I'm
bad.
back. All right. I
Yeah.
will say I didn't specifically say, but I'm also in the same market of Noctis. I can say I'm in my entire life, I don't think I've met a single person in any context IRL that uses they them. Like I've
no
met people who
offhand 5 people.
I know people. Met people who are gay and lesbian. If you are one of those people who want to make the distinction between the two, and I've met people, I've met trans and stuff like that, but I've literally never met anyone who uses they them. And I don't know if it was just coincidence. I was aware that they them is a pronoun and does exist, and some people need it. But yeah, I'm like Noctis. I've never met one before.
The
And
the way that I have met people like IRL with that fit more that are part of, I guess, the LGBT community and whatnot is through the internet. Like
Yeah,
that's how that's how have found like-minded people that live in a super conservative state of South Carolina. Like I've actually found my
because
people
on the
because of the
internet you can be anybody. Like if you look at nothing about my username implies I'm masculine, except unless you know Latin, in which case, actually, now that I say that, I think the nouns that make up my username are both feminine nouns in Latin.
I want to see how
I
many
think about
people
that.
look at your name and assumed your gender identity based on your name, like the way your name is written. What?
It's important
funny-
to note though that there's protective factors and like reasons why you might not know, so that someone uses they them right off the bat unless they're comfortable with you. Like I live in a fairly like homophobic state right now, and I was president of my LGBTQIA's school group, and I knew plenty of in real life people who use they them pronouns. Partially probably because I was president of this, so I'm like a safe person to go to. But they're not going around telling everyone at the law school that this is like what their pronouns are until I got in a whole fight with the administration. So like it's a protective thing.
I don't know. I'm a New Yorker. I think people are pretty
way-
comfortable with their pronouns in New York, at least. from what
Yeah,
I've
New York
seen.
probably, but
We literally I won't say
Yeah.
which, but we've literally had a college where we call that the gay college.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, New York is a little different, but like for like South Carolina or Montana, like there are probably protective factors there, right?
Yeah.
And everyone has their own personal circumstances too, which is why
Yeah.
they might not.
Yeah, the only reason I know is that I've met people in real life is, like I said, because I met them first through like Facebook
The internet.
groups. Yeah.
Yeah, see, my school didn't have an LGBTQIA group. The
Neither
closest
did
we had
mine.
was drama club, which I was a part of, but even still, no one identified as.
Okay, that's
in retrospect,
I never even liked that hot take. Drama club, you must be gay or something
no,
like that.
no,
That
my
is
point
true
is
for
drama
my
club.
high school, though. Everyone from my high school is now out of the closet who was in drama. I gotta say that.
It's
Yeah,
the most,
you know,
it's the most inclusive
valid.
group at our high school. Like, if you wanted to come out as gay, you can't do it. In choir. That's I was gonna say choir, but I was thinking other after school activities. You can't come out as gay. It's not as inclusive. But still, no one in our drama club came out with different pronouns or anything other than your sexuality. No one identified as non-binary. No one
When I was
identified
in-
as.
Yeah.
But
When I was like in high school, I know so many people that in the years after high school came out as gay, bisexual, etc. And I had no idea because there was literally one out gay person at the school. And it just wasn't a thing. And it was a big thing, like, if somebody was bisexual, oh, it's a phase. And so it was really, really hard to find people.
So my high school was more inclusive than Lila's. We had 3 gay people.
Wait, why is this a competition?
Three.
Why
How
is this a
exciting.
competition? My school had more gay people than your high school.
I mean, my school
win.
definitely had a lot of gay people. They just weren't out as gay.
Yeah, we had 3 out gay people, and all of them were in drama club as well.
Yeah, I do have some crazy stories with like people who didn't come out of the closet yet, but I don't know if I want to tell those on a podcast.
But my point is, like, that's where we're at in a society. The most inclusive club, I know, like, we've had several people come out as gay later, and gay, lesbian, across the spectrum, later, after high school. The most inclusive club in our high school still couldn't get that.
That's because, I mean,
because you
high
don't
school,
feel comfortable.
It doesn't matter whether you're as school as you could be the most exclusive school in the world. It's high school. All right, that's just it's literally a world where everyone judges each other because of the color pens you use. And I wish I couldn't be.
I call BS.
I
call BS.
But you call BS.
You're more inclusive. Just look at the high school now versus 20 years ago, and look at the high school 50 years ago.
I'm not comparing. Yes, the times we live in are more inclusive now. I'm saying that high school specifically is. It doesn't matter how inclusive the world is. High school specifically. Everyone's always afraid to admit everything because everything is judged harshly in high school.
That's your high school experience. That was not mine. I had no problem.
It doesn't have anything to do with high school itself.
No.
It has to inherently go into how you're raised and what you're exposed to and how quickly you have unlearned the norms of society. Because I could never have been out in high school because I didn't know that about myself. I didn't have the words or the language or the understanding to be like how I am now, and it took me until after college to get to that point. So I don't know if the inclusivity of your high school really matters. It's all about like what you're exposed to and how you're raised and the representation you have.
I think that goes into like more about how important it is to have that representation, because that is what helps people, as kids start to actually learn about themselves. Whereas maybe, some of us didn't. We didn't know because we didn't have that, media and normalization of it available.
I'm curious if tFay had this experience. See, in middle school, like where you're 13 and 14, saying you were gay, what would be unthinkable. I couldn't imagine trying to say I was attracted to guys at all when I was 13 because gay was such a slur back then. But by the time I got to high school, it was way different. People didn't care as much. High school for me was more inclusive than middle school. So that I would I don't know. As you get older, you get to be a little bit more open-minded until finally you're 40, which is going to be the default age from now on when you stop being inclusive and open-minded.
It's 40. 40 is the hard cutoff for
Oh my
inclusivity.
god.
Yes, 40 is the age. Yeah, I'm curious. Like that's why when I say the most inclusive club at our high school, we've had there were members of that club that have later come out as gay, lesbian, and non-binary. They couldn't even say it back then, and that's just. I'm guessing it's because like the TV shows, the cartoons, all the stuff I watched and played growing up it didn't open my mind like I said.
Exactly. Yeah, the normalization, the representation is important.
Yeah, I was like
And we didn't
remember
have that.
Yeah, that Runaways story of me talking about. I believe I was 16 at that time. The first time I had come across a non-binary character, a gender fluid character, was when I was 16. And yeah, it was mind blowing. I couldn't imagine what an 8-year-old Noctis would have thought of if he read that comic.
Yeah, I was much older.
And I guess kind of like tying it into like the streaming, that's why I also talk about it so much in my streams. Like, hopefully I don't have young children. I would be very uncomfortable. But
Yeah.
if there are people who haven't had that representation for them, haven't had it normalized, I play the games and I talk about my different identities so frequently because I wanted to normalize the experience for other people. And
Yeah.
it's very intentional when I do that.
Yeah, I think that's probably, I mean, at least to me, that's one of the best ways to normalize it, is to just make it normal. Talk about it just like you would anything else.
That's very. It's just not saying you're wrong. It's just makes me think that's the exact opposite of how people argue about race. Like back when, like, you know, people are saying like, how do you deal with
Talking about
racism?
like
It's like
color blindness. That's so dumb.
Because I remember the famous like that viral thing where like Morgan Freeman just like, if you want to get rid of racism, just stop talking about it.
Well, that's something we talk a ton about in my schooling, and like that is the complete wrong way of dealing with any kind of issue of identity. Is like if you don't normalize, if you don't talk about it, then you're making the problem worse.
Exactly.
And entrenching it within society.
So things like with identities.
Quick aside, one of the gay kids at our school went by Black Gay Tim. That's literally what the entire school knew him as, and I worry that I outed what school I went to, but that I was just like when he said that, it made me laugh because he literally identified.
That's why I'm being very particular about not telling my high school information, stories, whatever. Because no.
Talk about your high school. Who's your favorite homeroom teacher?
You remember your teachers' names?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
My brain does not have enough room. I have too many thoughts. I can't keep it all.
If I was to go back to my old high school, I could tell. Like I can tell you what.
I'm also really bad at names.
Oh,
I'm pretty bad. I'm pretty bad at names a lot of the times, but I feel like when it comes to teachers, like you just memorize their names. You just, you know, whether it be saying their names in the classroom to ask the question, or you know, if you're a student, what are you gonna do? Compare your teachers. You're like, yeah, I had that Mr. Noctis. You know, he always taught from the corner for some reason.
Was he dreamy? Did you look into his eyes and found yourself mesmerized?
I mean, we did. I can say that when I played Dream Daddy, the character that was literally Noctis, I did not romance.
Oh, you missed out, you good sir. The chat loved him. I remember that. Thank you.
Real talk, you know, real talk. I do not like the competitive type in my, you know, in terms of who I want to romance. So even if it wasn't a Noctis clone, by the way, it was 100% a Noctis clone. I would not.
He was dreamy.
I would not be into that. That is a fanfic level only.
Was he competitive? I couldn't stop looking into
that was his shtick. That's his shtick. Everyone in that game had a shtick.
Yeah, I didn't remember his shtick. All right,
I mean, you can argue his shtick is that he was ginger, but his shtick is that he's super competitive. As I said, it's literally you, Noctis. All right, if like, you know,
I'm not competitive.
Yeah,
I am the best at being not competitive.
Yes. Good on you. Good on you.
Oh my god. I can't believe we went an entire episode actually talking about what we meant to talk about. It's kind of unbelievable. We haven't diverged into a side tangent about dubs versus subs or whatever tFay wants to argue with me about.
I mean,
Yeah, there's
we
been
have
no
some
tangents
tangents,
at all.
but
I
they
mean,
both
well,
kind of related.
We
Yeah.
are more or less roughly around the 145 mark. So if we do have any just general questions that people would have from the live chat, or that maybe you guys just have questions for us.
I was about to ask, do you guys have any questions?
like me and Lila.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
Do you
just
guys have
anybody. It
any
doesn't have to be pride related. Just just
Okay,
general.
okay.
Generally,
I got one for
the
you.
last 10, 15 minutes are usually pretty freeform.
Uh-huh.
We try to make them.
Usually the last hour is
Leaving-
like freeform.
Leaving today's episode, what do you think is one thing we can all do to become a more inclusive streamer for all people on Twitch? And
I would say if I had to
focusing
say
on
something
LGBTQ.
for Twitch, all right, for Twitch culture, I'm going to say, not that we can control this, but obviously adding more tag slots is useful. I could say I could say training mods to use pronoun commands when someone raids, I think is just a very simple thing, and or having a pronoun command if you don't have one.
And having the pronouns in your bio.
Having the pronouns in the bio file. I don't know if it's I'm live,
I'm
by the way.
gonna
I already
add my pronouns
Yeah.
to my
I
raid
already
message.
tried to add my pronouns to my bio. It wouldn't let me. I don't know if it's because I'm live or not. I have to look into it later.
It's either because you're live or you might be at your limited number of characters.
Yeah.
Do you think that's it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to mess too much with it because I don't know. I don't want to like break something by
Oh yeah,
messing
the
around
stream
shit when
just-
I'm live.
Stay live, yeah.
So
Very
I'll
funny.
play around with that later.
Yeah, I don't know how to make a stream more inclusive. I think it comes down to playing different games might help. Like, let's say you're a first-person shooter and that's the type of game you like. Maybe step outside your norm. Go play one of the awesome games that have been recommended today. That might help.
I could say that
well.
this is I don't know, maybe this is pseudo manipulative me talking. Like casually referring to people with they them pronouns, like those who actually use they them pronouns, obviously, like trying to force that into a typical conversation like with chat. Like if I just wanted to refer to I'll just force myself to refer to someone and just say they them. It's sort of like kind of like creates the normalcy that they them pronouns are used in that stream. If
What do you
that
mean
makes
by
any
Are we talking
sense.
about like
Yourself
your
or so
people in your
basically,
chat
like-
or yourself?
No. So basically, like this is all right. So basically, like some people might not know. Again, it's sad if this is not obvious, but maybe you're at a stream and you don't know how open to LGBTQI plus topics and or community. Like maybe like some stream because there's some streamers out there who refuses to use they them. Like not going to say any names. I coincidentally don't know any, but they are there. So if you're having a conversation, and I've had this happen with my chat before, where I'll refer to someone as they, them, right? And they really like that. And some people will comment like, oh, so they know that they can be comfortable admitting they, them pronouns in my chat, or because I'm literally actively using they, them pronouns to refer to my chat, like those who actually use it, instead of just referring to everyone whatever I assume them to be, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying. Basically, just go in with the assumption of not assuming, basically.
Assume that you shouldn't assume. I
Like-
like it.
Yeah.
In general,
just
and
use the default as they so that you're not assuming anything about someone. I like
Yeah.
that.
I am a lurk streamer, as in like most of my viewers typically lurk. Monday was huge. I don't know anyone was hanging on Monday. Monday was like barely anyone talking in chat. There were so many lurkers, which was very interesting statistic wise. And I've talked with some people like throughout my streaming career where they'll be in a chat and they'll be lurking and they are scared to talk for one reason or another, and so they are only willing to talk when they have some kind of reassurance on whether it be pronouns or if they can talk about this as well. Or hell, if the streamer's gonna yell at them for talking about their own stream in the chat. All sorts of things like that. So I feel like just before, even if they're not explicitly asking for it, just promoting things like that just casually in conversation is good.
You can set up timers as well with things like a pronoun command and things like that
Timers
as well.
is also pretty good. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, timers are often comment based, right? Like if people aren't chatting in your comments, they're not going to see those timers.
You can control that.
Yeah.
You can put it that the timers are going to go off no matter how many people are talking. But if you're gonna go with that logic, if no one's talking and like the timer goes off, the message sits there in the chat. Unless obviously, people just happen to come in after that timer goes off.
Yeah,
There's a weird timer algorithm, which I feel like could be another topic for another stream in itself. Setting up commands, timers, whatnot. I do weird algorithmic math in my head when I set up my timers, but I'm weird. I don't know how much other people put into their timers.
Numbers I like.
Yeah, numbers are nice.
I just go, ooh, this number seems nice. I pick 45. No reasons.
I try and spread mine out, but I don't know. I don't know what the box
I wish there was a random element to it. So instead of setting it off to go off every 30 minutes, let's say, get randomized. I'd like to see that. That'd be kind of cool.
So, what you'd have to by that's borderline dangerous, because if it randomizes, what if it doesn't go off the entire stream?
Yeah.
You set it for going off every between once an hour at least.
What? But that logic, why not just set it to go up once an hour?
But you don't want it. Maybe you don't want it to go up once an hour. Maybe you want it to go off every now and then. And you don't know how often now and then is, because it, as you know,
I'm saying, but that's
differ from day to day.
Yes, but I'm saying that's
number.
I'm saying though, design it's dangerous. Even if you gave people that option, let's say it literally says a number between 1 and 10,000. All right, what are the if your bot randomly picks that it's not going to go off for a really long time, you just never get your timer messages. Is that really better?
Yeah. No, but usually you have more than one timer message. Am I wrong there?
Okay.
Also, you normally stream longer than 30 minutes, so you can already pick a number over 30. Most people don't stream that short. Am I correct?
No. I'm saying that when you're saying if you want an RNG number for your timers
between 1 and 60, how is that? Why are you making this so hard?
I'm very confused. What is happening?
Okay, so
I don't know.
for anyone,
my brain is checked out.
This is
a thought experiment, and tFay's calling me stupid.
No,
I think the problem kicked it so hard.
I know. I'm just sitting here.
Well, this is why I said before, I don't think people look at timers the same way I do. Where I'm when I set up my timers, I literally go, okay, this command is going to go off this many times an hour, and how many times is it going to go off at the same time as this command over the course of how long I'm streaming for certain days? I do actual math in my commands.
No, that's a different way of approaching timers. I'm saying, let's say you have 5 timers, and you just want them to be shown at random time. Just give me an RNG. Give me an RNG, Give me that easy element. I don't have to figure out what it has to actually come out. Give me that random appearance, I just want an easy mode for my timers. Why is that such a bad thing?
Y'all out in the chat.
Hey,
you fell into your own trap. You thought you would avoid it.
It's not a trap. We don't try to avoid it. It just sort of happens that a lot of the times is, kind of based on what kind of questions comes out. I could argue it's NerdyBerdie's fault. She asked the question.
I would argue it's your fault because you're being nitpicky.
I mean, she asked the question and then it just went somewhere else.
Well, welcome to a podcast.
I know. I mean, also welcome to ADHD brain in general.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it's kind of funny how you guys are the guests who are yes, the reason we're not participating is because we have ADHD and are just blanking out. Usually our guests are, I actually went to go get popcorn because I've been enjoying this. I just want to listen to you
that's
guys
true.
argue.
You guys have been very active all podcast.
You're more active than our other guests. And you're I'm sorry I haven't been paying attention.
I mean,
Like,
we're
what?
just being honest, okay?
Yeah, I'm just being honest. I mean, I actively participate, very passionate, but that side conversation of blinking out. I don't know.
Oh my
So
gosh, no! This
nervous.
is like my teacher brain, right? And had this conversation, and you know, in the classroom, you'll be talking, and then suddenly you end up talking about like animals, or hell, you might even be talking about like butts or something like that, and then you somehow you realize to
In
the
the
teacher, all right,
classroom,
in the class,
Animal butt.
Oh,
all right,
that's
and
why
then you'll be
tFay doesn't
talking.
like me. He looks at me as a student. It all makes sense now.
So I literally
he looks
have
at
to
me as a
look
dumb kid, and I'm
legitimately.
insulted.
Teacher's skill, all right, is how you transition from a tangent back into the lesson without suppressing your students. Because your students will suddenly be engaged, and they're like, there's a topic. They're like, all right, how do you get them to suddenly pay attention to what they're supposed to be paying attention to? Because if you just say, hey, Lila, pay attention to the actual topic of the stream, it's gonna be like, they're not gonna care.
Yeah.
Lila and I are the teachers in this situation, and you and Noctis were the students, and our transition method of saying we blinked out was not a good one.
That's not inaccurate. I accept that analogy of me and tFay.
Well,
Yeah, you're definitely the students here.
in terms, speaking of transitions, as we're coming to the end of our podcast, you know,
You mean segue?
Smooth.
you know, hey, I was trying to use their word, okay? So what's our band name? All right, we need a band
What?
name.
Wait, what?
Okay.
Okay, see, you can tell who listens to the podcast, Noctis. You
Yeah,
can tell which
I
of
know.
our guests listen to the podcast.
We can. Yeah, usually during the podcast, we will say something that's so funny or so identifying that the chat kind of freaks out and says that's our band name, and then
Oh no,
afterwards,
we're
now-
not funny enough for this.
Well, no. So
no.
legitimately, you may be thinking like, does every episode need a band name? According to episode 2, yes. Because
Yeah.
I got a lot of messages of people who are very mad there was not a band name.
Okay, well, what's our band name then?
I don't know. I'm asking. Noctis, come up with something.
That
I
doesn't
will
work
make
for
the art
tFay.
for it.
I was
Well,
gonna
you
say
know how
the
I do
on-air
this.
queers, but that doesn't work for tFay. So
Wait, what were you gonna suggest?
the on-air queers, because we're LGBT, but you're not. So
I like
that
it.
doesn't work. We could do the token hetero and
With
the
our token
rainbows.
hetero.
The token
Eh,
heteros. Oh my
And the
god.
Yes.
Oh,
All right,
Make
there you
that
go.
commonplace. You have to have a token hetero, but everybody else
Can
is
we do
not
the
straight.
the on-air queers with token hetero as our album name?
Sure.
I love it because the on-air queers honestly sounds like a band name. If
Oh
I'm gonna
my
be
gosh.
I
honest.
love it. The
Suggested-
on-air
Thank
queers.
you. Thank you.
Beautiful.
All right, so that's gonna be our band name. We're gonna be shout outs again.
Right.
This is the last episode of the month, which also means that starting tomorrow, our Patreon is gonna be live. We will have links to that down below the stream, or in the Discord and in the YouTubes and all that stuff. Highly request you try checking it out. Me and Noctis are we spend way too much time discussing what to put on the Patreon, considering, we don't have high expectations of it. Not that we're saying people are required to give us money for a podcast which you could just listen to for free, and not that we have many things that require money that we could justify needing a Patreon. But people want
How
a
else do we
Patreon.
How else do we get the tFay body pillow at $100? The Noctis gets a new mic at $150. The Noctis French-made body pillow at $500, and the Not Safe for Work tFay body pillow at $1,000. That's how we get it. Is with
Yeah,
Patreon.
if you want us to pay Pokimane to come on our podcast, we need a lot of money in the Patreon.
I don't even know she would bother with us. We
She
would say, "Hey,
would not.
Pokimane," and she would laugh
Probably
at us.
not. Also, I don't need all of her shrimps to be coming on. No, I don't need that. I like them
well,
very
I don't
far
know.
Did
away.
you say shrimps?
I say shrimps
And-
because
and,
I'm
like-
not saying that without the H.
Yeah, we need to end the podcast because otherwise it gets demonetized on YouTube, and we're trying to make that AdSense, even though we don't make money off those.
Oh my
videos.
gosh. One of the funniest things I've ever seen was Pokimane saying I'm single as a tweet and watching everyone go off. And then
Oh my
eventually
God.
she's just like, yeah, I wasn't looking for anyone. I just wanted you guys to know that I'm single. It's like,
Wow.
get wrecked. Get wrecked, all of you.
Oh my God.
But yeah.
Love name. Oh God.
Is it what? Then that must be nice to be able to say I'm single and everyone actually gives a shit.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think
That
I
sounds
would-
horrifying. for
That's I
stalkers.
don't think I don't yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think I'd want that personally.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't.
I
No,
also
I,
say that
like-
as someone in a relationship already, so it sounds biased as all the people
Yeah, that's
out there
true.
who are single are saying I want that, but you know, I
I-
generally
that's
I
fair.
feel like it's just I don't know,
Relationship bias. We need
exa-
we need to check our
Okay,
privilege, tFay,
if
because
I
I'm
am
married and you're in a
perfectly-
relationship.
I'm okay with having a lower view count and or less active community if I can continue not having trolls and creeps in it. I am willing to make that trade. I do not need the 5,000 people in my chat where half of them are commenting on me. So I'm like, ban, mods.
Ban,
I actually
ban.
need my mods to be mods for once.
Oh man, that could have been an episode where we talk, because I've dealt with a creepy guy already, and which is kind of weird. I can't imagine what it's like for two lovely guests like Nerdy and Lila. tFay, you make sense, but Nerdy and
guy?
Lila dealing with creepy viewers.
Wow.
I can
you know,
imagine.
comment on Lila having to deal with, you know, me and Banana every day, obviously. Way to call us out, Noctis.
Yeah.
All right. Me and Banana are just
Now
trying to
you
do
know.
our
I
thing.
know.
I am 5 beers and 2 shots of whiskey deep into my night, so I have apparently lost all care.
All right. So we're going to end the podcast here.
That was a joke. I should state
Again.
that was a joke.
Yeah, no, we're going to
Oh,
have
man.
to have a very interesting post-podcast discussion. And again, guys, if you
Don't we
for
all?
whatever reason don't listen to this live, and judging by our statistics, many of you are most likely asleep whenever we air these episodes, so you probably don't watch this live. We do usually have fun discussions, usually more chaotic, which I'm now calling Luna Lounge Unleashed, and we record these starting at least last episode, and we will be putting them on our Patreon. So if for whatever reason you don't listen to these live and you want to hear about what I yell at Noctis about after the podcast, feel free to go check out the Patreon. You know,
Yay! I get yelled at.
hashtag, you know, shameless plug. So
That
yeah,
was a good segue, though.
thank
That one
thank
was.
you.
That was a good one.
Don't
Good one.
feed into his ego. All right, he thinks enough of himself.
I mean, you know what? I have to call it as I see it, and that was a good
I
segue.
know. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But
I'm just like,
yeah.
I know, but I don't like anyone admitting it.
Pretty much.
Yeah. It's okay. You don't have to admit it. I did it for you.
We record this. They just heard me admit it, and I hate it.
Time to edit it out. Editor, edit it out. And this is what he put on
Yeah,
text.
editor, unnamed editor at this time until we finally manage to pay someone by using the money from our Patreon.
Oh my
Hashtag
gosh.
shameless plug.
If anyone actually wants a job of editing our recordings and making highlights out of it, feel
Oh
free
my
to hit us up and we'll talk.
Hit us
And
up
we-
in those DMs. Yo.
We may or may not be able to
Sliding towards-
hire you based on how well the Patreon does. But if the Patreon does well, I will happily hire someone to edit our recordings.
Also, think of it. If you already give to the Patreon, in effect, you're just like ensuring employment for yourself. I'm just
Oh
saying.
my god. So you're paying yourself in the end.
Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. Like, it's been a long day.
But yeah, so
Oh
let's
my
just say
God.
some goodbyes so we can start the post recording. Pigeon, are you here with us? Pigeon?
Yeah,
No,
last thoughts of the day.
Me?
We'd love to hear from you guys. Yep, go ahead.
last thoughts of the day.
Last thoughts and goodbyes. Last thoughts and goodbyes for the recording.
Ooh, I
Oh,
like that.
well,
Sounds good.
thank you so much for having me. It was a great discussion. Always happy to talk issues and things.
Nice.
Is this good? Is this
Nice.
okay? Is this how
I
we
love
wrap
how you
up?
paused. I love how you paused. It's like, it's always nice to talk.
I mean,
Just period.
yeah.
I just
Well,
love
okay, you know
talking.
what? I got a slow processing speed and I was unprepared for the question.
I was gonna say.
I'm
Like, how do
prepared
you
for the
edit
question. You're a streamer. You should be able to end the stream. You say
No,
bye.
have you ever stuck around for an end of my stream? It's literally me floundering for like 3 minutes until I raid someone.
All right. Well, we'll take that as your end. All right, Lila. Last thoughts and goodbyes.
You'd think I would be more prepared because the question was just asked, but I'm not prepared. I also always enjoy talking, especially about gay things. So, yay!
And not gay things, and all-inclusive things.
Well,
All
yes,
for
but, you know.
inclusive.
Gay things,
Since-
bisexual things, lesbian things.
All
Ladies,
things
gentlemen.
of that
Nod. Last thing
Yeah.
in terms of inclusivity, I do see a lot of I do see some YouTube channels where they say, good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and non-binary friends. I do like that. That I like to those channels who are doing that. Nice touch.
Yeah.
Nice subtle addition there.
Something like that. Oh my gosh. That's how. Do we need to come up with something like that for the intro to every podcast?
You mean the ending?
Sovereigns.
Ending,
Could be
beginning.
Like, welcome, sovereigns.
All right. Our last remarks, unless Noctis wants to throw in his own. Thank you guys for listening. Be sure to hit us up on the Patreon for all of your Patreon needs. And
Yeah. Blah blah blah. Thank you for watching us on YouTube.
Thank you.
Blah, blah, blah.
Noctis has more muscles than me. What else is new? Blah blah blah. Pigeons. All right.
Dubs are better than subs. There you go. I said it.
Yeah, joke's on you. I choose when we stop the recording. So...
Joke's on you.
All right. Bye, guys.